most of you know me, but if you don't, my name is Mark Moore. I'm the Deputy Director of North Carolina Youth Soccer, at least for the next 4 weeks. And I'm retiring in February. And I am also the D&A Administrator. So we have these meetings once a year so we can kind of hash out some of the trends that Larry being our D&A Chairman, Larry and I see across the state and what we experience through the referee reports, and then we get your input, and we have a nice little conversation, and it usually lasts less than an hour. So we've got four little topics I think we're going to touch on, plus anything that you feel like you may want to talk about. So without any further blather from me, I will turn you over to Larry Taylor, the D&A Chairman.
Well, appreciate y'all coming on this. We've got a lot of things to discuss this year. We've seen a trend that everybody's seen. It's not anything different here than if you go to YouTube and start looking at basketball games, softball games, football games, everything. The trend this past season the scale has gone just off the scale, basically, with adults and their interactions during games. And this year was really, usually this season is the lighter season when it comes to discipline. But even for that, it was extremely light when it comes to discipline for the players. I was very pleased with that. We didn't really have any issues. We had one situation where two people pushed each other. Wasn't really a fight. And then we had basically the rest of them were a lot of, 2 yellows, just allowing a goal. We had maybe 1 or 2 serious fouls, and that's about it with the players. So the trend is with the adults. And the first thing, and I want everybody to know that I'm having these same meetings with the referees. When we discuss it with the referees, we're telling them it's not all your fault, referees. It's not all the coach's fault or the adults' fault. It's a mixture. We've got to find a fine line here to where we understand that these officials are going to make mistakes. We can't do anything about it. You watch the NFL game and you see them making mistakes. You watch a basketball game, you see them make a mistake. Last night, I'm a Duke fan. I go to Duke University. I thought there was some terrible calls at the end of that game last night, but I'll guarantee you that Florida State, if they had lost by 1, would have said the same thing. So it's where you're looking at it from. And we don't see the bad calls that are not going our way, but are going against the other team. We only see the ones that don't go our way and we get upset with. So to start that with is the first thing I want you to make sure you're telling your coaches. Number one, they are responsible for their parents. We have had 4 or 5 instances this year alone, this past season, where we've had a parent issue and the coach flat out tell the official, the parents are not my responsibility. All coaches need to understand the parents are their responsibility. It's to the point where it's not, we're not doing it or something, but it's been done other places and it's been brought up here, is that if a parent gets thrown out of a game, the coach is going to have to sit out a game. So it's getting to that point. So we need to make sure that we understand that these coaches know that it is their responsibility. The referee, if there is a parent, is not supposed to go over and address the parent anymore. They're to come over and tell the coach, that guy over there in a blue shirt and khaki pants, he needs to be escorted out of here. And he'll say, I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. If the coach says, I'm not doing it, he waits his 5 minutes, and then he says, game's called. And it's a forfeit for your team. We've got to make sure we do something. So I think if we go out and tell these parents what's going to happen, and there's a possibility they may be the reason their kids have to forfeit a game, maybe things will change. We've got to do something. We can't sit and keep watching it. I don't know if y'all have seen on YouTube, every now and then you'll see something where you'll see where some parent, I think it was a basketball game the other day, I saw Mark may have sent it to me. A parent come run out of stands and just run up behind a referee and just knocked him like he was a blocking dummy, and knocked him about 5 feet off the ground and onto the ground, up 5 feet in the air and onto the ground. Guy didn't get up. I mean, we just can't have this. And we're having situations like that getting close. We're having parents go to the sidelines, go to the referees, inform your parents there is no reason whatsoever for them to go over to a referee at halftime or at the end of the game. No matter what they say, if that referee feels like it was derogatory, it will be a 2-game sit-out for that parent. They need to stay on their sidelines. If they got a complaint, go to the coach, have the coach go talk to the referee if they feel something. A lot of times the coach will deflate the issue right then and there, and they'll say, hey, listen, it's a tough game. It went both ways. I know, a lot of us parents, we look out for our child and our child only, and we only see the times that happen to our child. So that's another thing we have to make sure we're watching.
Larry.
Yes.
Let me interrupt one thing. And you correct me if I'm wrong, if a parent approaches the referee with any type of communication or whatever, and the referee writes it up as misconduct, it will be a minimum of a 2-game sit-out.
Yes, minimum. I'm sorry. I got to keep saying minimum.
No problem. No problem.
I'm sorry.
I make sure that they didn't.
Glad you correct me, because I always forget to say the minimum. Because we've had 2 recently that have had to sit out as many as 8 games, not just for going over, but for what they said and other things going on there. This is what's going to happen. Number one, there's no reason to go to a minor. And Mark will talk about how we can distinguish minor referees right off the bat. But we've had 2 instances where the referee tells the parent, I am a minor. And the parent says, I don't care. I'll still knock you out. Can't be done. We can't have it. We can't go on like this. We've got to do something. We have to be doing something to try to keep this from happening. Whatever it is, we've got to do something. The other thing right quick is if it is a minor and a parent goes over there, pretty much it's going to be more than 2 games, because it's going to be considered referee abuse. If he just walks over there and says, you suck, that's going to be referee abuse to a minor. We do not need these young kids trying to be our future referees when we're already short referees, of having them run out of here before they even get a chance. 2 times this year, it's been a referee's first or second game that they referee. They're young, they're inexperienced. We're not making millions of dollars. We're not going to lose millions of dollars. I know playing is important, and when my kid was playing, it was the most important thing in the world, but we've got to get reality to settle that it's not worth that. Like I said, we don't want to end up on YouTube. We don't want to be your association be this thing that's on YouTube sometime because one of your parents went out and did something. Now, the other side of that, referees aren't perfect. They make mistakes. We've got referees not filling out reports. We've got referees not filling them out to where we can understand what they're doing, what they're saying. We got referees that I've been there. I've coached between club and high school soccer for 20 some odd years. And there's these referees that I say feel like the kids are playing the game so they can referee instead of they're refereeing so the kids can play. I felt like some of them feel like they're the most important thing. You need to let us know, okay? We can discipline referees. We can do that, and we have, and we're going to more and more. But we don't want to hear about it after the fact, after a parent or coach went off on some referee and then come back and tell me he missed 2 calls. If he missed just 2 calls, you got a heck of a ball game called there. But that's probably the best game I've ever seen a referee in my life call. And I know it happens, and we just got to make sure we stress this to our coaches relay it to our parents, and then maybe our kids, which, like I said, we're not having a big issue. Of course, this next season is our big season for, when the older boys play, we have more teams and everything playing. I've been in 2 Zoom meetings with referees and have at least 2 more with referees. And I tell them exactly what I told you here. And then I come back and say, we're also going to monitor you guys. We're going to hold you accountable. We can't have a referee instigating something. We can't have a referee instigating a situation where it could get out of hand. And that's what we do. Inexperienced, not making the right calls, stuff like that. Let us know. We'll contact the booking agent. Let them know that we're getting complaints from this guy that we call up again. And we don't know, exactly whether it's the same referee all the time, because it could be a month or 2 later. And we get another one. We call him, but hey, listen, hey, that's the one you called about last month. Well, maybe you may start looking at him, because we're going to start disciplining him. I mean, we can't have him going over to a coach and starting something. And it does happen, but we have to hear about it the same way as the referees are able to write a report and send to us. If you've got a situation, write yourself something up and send to us. And we will definitely look at it. We've got to be the people that keeps this from getting out of hand. We can't be the ones that are pushing it along to get worse. If we don't do something, nobody else will, and we're going to have a problem. Now, I'm going to let Mark speak, and then we're going to leave a period for y'all to have questions. So if you got them, just write them down, and then we'll both take it at the end after Mark talks a little bit, and we'll answer any questions you've got. And I will stay on. Duke played yesterday and lost, so I don't have anything to watch. So I'll stay on and answer your questions till as long as you need to. Mark?
Thank you, Larry.
I did that all in one breath, I think.
I think so, yeah. I was behind.
That's the preacher in me, Mark. That's the preacher.
I was behind the picture panting over here. I'm going to try something I haven't tried before. I created a little poll here, and it's a very simple poll. I just wanted to get your feedback. And it basically says, has adult misconduct been an issue at games that you've attended, or possibly has misconduct, adult misconduct, been part of the stories that you've heard from your association or from your teams, whether it's been at home or away? And I'm just kind of see if if we get a little feedback here to find out what so it looks like it's like 86% have had some type of experience with misconduct. So yeah, like Larry said, I mean, I think we had, correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, I should have the numbers in front of me but we had 40, maybe 46 or 47 ejections in the fall, which was pretty good. And a lot of them were adults, and
I think 11 were adults.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that most of us, or some of us here, when we're talking about ejections and what have you, we're thinking competitive, but most, I won't say most,
no, not most.
At least half of our adult misconduct has been in recreation. And so, we are, if there is referee abuse, or God forbid, a referee assault, U.S. Soccer, the federation, requires the state association to take control of that incident and make the adjudication. That's a requirement from the federation. A lot of the times, even if it's only, adult misconduct in a recreation match, generally speaking, in a recreation league, the individual association there will make their own discipline and appeals ruling and their own suspensions. But sometimes, and we've had several associations who have asked our help because the misconduct was so egregious that they didn't exactly know what to do. They were kind of dumbfounded. And so we've stepped in and we've kind of taken over for that when they ask. You're free to do that. You can handle it yourself if it's only misconduct. But if you'd like assistance with that, just let me know, or let Larry know, and we'll be more than happy to help you sort that out. If the referee writes it up as abuse, then we automatically take it over per the federation. Okay, out of the 17 that answered, we've got 82%. Okay, so that's an interesting. That is interesting. Okay. Let's talk about minor referees for a second. And I'm going to share something on my screen. And I hope I don't pull the wrong picture here. Let's see, share screen, and it's going to be this. Can you see that yellow band? That's going to be that's a 1-inch silicone wristband that actually was mailed out today to approximately 1,700 referees under the age of 17 and younger by the Referee Association. The NCSRA, North Carolina Soccer Referees Association, and our executive board with NCYSA have basically partnered to provide these wristbands to young referees. If a coach or a parent, if the referee's wearing this and a coach and a parent engages in any type of misconduct and is written up, the penalty will be more severe than what we have listed in the D&A manual. So as Larry spoke before, there is no reason to approach a minor referee, even if he or she does the absolute worst game you have ever seen. Okay, and I'll give a little background here. You may know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. In order to become a referee, you take some online courses, you take a test, a couple of other things online, you get certified, and NCSRA will mail you a badge you can put on your shirt. So you are now a referee, and you can go out and you can referee games, any level that the assigner puts you on. So then the certified assigner, being short referees, he would love to start referees, younger, inexperienced referees out in recreation, and a lot of times will do that. But we have so many classic teams, and as well, we have so many competing competitive organizations that, referees are at a premium. And so it may sound like an excuse, but it's reality. So your AR may be doing their first game ever, or they may be doing their third game ever. And just like a player who has to have repetitive activities in order to become a good soccer player, a referee has to referee repetitive games in order to be a good referee. And this is where I feel strongly, and I believe, and NCYSA, the executive board, feels strongly, as well as Larry, who's on the board. This is where we think the referees should be allowed to ref, and it's tough. It is tough as a coach of 39 years. It is tough to go out and sit on the bench while you see a referee that with a handful of calls could butcher the game for you after you've worked all week to get to a position. And I'm talking about several years ago when I refed, but we didn't have this problem, and now it's the reality. It's what we face until we can get the numbers back up. And we would like these young referees to be our referee of the future. We would like them to be good referees. So they'll be wearing this band if you're how do I get out of this? Screen sharing is stopped. Oh, good. Okay. So if you could, and we will put out an education piece that we'll mail to everybody with the copy of those bands. If you could spread that out among your association, that would be great. The second thing is that there is a committee that I'm chairing, or I was chairing. I won't be soon, and that is the Sportsmanship and Respect Initiative. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a tools and education tools that we can provide the associations that will help their parents know how to cheer. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but if you take a like in that 4 to 8 year old group, if they have no experience in soccer, the only thing they're going to know is maybe what they've seen in high school or on TV or whatever. But what's appropriate to cheer, what's not appropriate, and then a myriad of tools and education pieces to help you educate parents on what's proper and not proper. And we're hoping that this creates, starting with the younger groups all the way up, but we hope that this creates a culture change. Now, we know that there are going to be people who are going to ignore this, and there'll be entire associations who will probably ignore it. This is not a mandatory thing, but it would be interesting to know if you were provided with a set of tools and you could cafeteria style pick what you want to use. Would you be interested in testing? Well, that was good, Mark. What did I do? Would you be interested in kind of being a guinea pig with some ideas on education? If so, just kind of see if people are interested. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but we do have 3 associations that are part of the committee, and they're all in. They really want to see if they can provide something, for their parents to help. And I can't see any reason, well, I guess I can see reasons, because then if you go all in on it, then eventually you have to go all in on the ramifications if they're not respectful. But that's part of the I think that's part of the piece. We don't have much else. It's been kind of a quiet fall. Oh, we got 13 out of 13. I told Larry it would be interesting if someone said no. So if you have anything you'd like to discuss, anything that you think would be helpful, anything, just shoot a question to us. Anything, let us know.
Hey, Larry,
ask away.
Larry, Mark, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So my son is 14. He's a player for a club, but he's also a referee. And I know that he has, at the end of this month, meetings about what you guys just talked about. So it is true. And he has even only been reffing for 6 months, and he's had even parents of my own club yell at him and things like that. And like I said, he's only 14. So it is true. I've watched it for myself.
Yeah, and we're running off some very good officials. I mean, we've had a young girl just be totally just talk to a 14-year-old girl, which I can't understand as a father how you do any girl that way, but just get totally humiliated to the point where I wish I could get the approval to read the letter that she sent us. And as a parent, I'll be honest with you, it brought tears to my eyes. It really did, to see how this girl was treated when all she was trying to do was make a little money and try to be an official.
The first sentence of that, I'm going to quote the first sentence of that letter, and that to me put it in complete perspective. She said, "I'm sorry that it took." Because it took about 10 days to get the letter from her. She said, "I'm sorry it took so long, I had to do my homework. So,
You know, and so, we've got to figure out, I know things have been tough right now. We're all locked up. We're all just want to get out. And but what's our saying, Mark? I cannot remember it. Don't I? No
action that justifies a reaction of misconduct.
There's no action that justifies a reaction to misconduct. And that's what we need to be telling everybody. There's nothing that an official can do other than try to assault you that warrants us doing some of the things that have been done. And that's the big thing. Even though the officials are making bad calls and stuff like that, I've yet to have one turn around and tell a parent to, you use whatever word you want to use in there, off, and so, we got to make sure that we understand that the game's important to us all. I love to win and lose more than anybody in the world. I guarantee you that. All through my life, I have to win at everything. But at some point, we have to realize that it's not worth what's going on right now. We're in a situation that we're in with referees. I remember 2 years ago was my last year of coaching high school soccer. And I remember referees coming up and telling me, this is my last year. I'm just not doing experienced referees, guys who had 20, 25 years. One of them was actually a college referee that said, I'm just not calling high school anymore. And he said, I'll just keep calling college, but I'm not doing it. This was a referee that you'd want at any of your games. I mean, knowledge and everything. Didn't make all the calls I wanted him to make for me, but you knew he knew what he was doing. And so we've lost a lot of good experienced referees, and so we got to replace them with inexperienced ones. That's the only way we can do it. And so we might have to take some lumps, and we have to tell parents, especially with these young referees. And I'm not saying just go off on the adult referees, but I'm telling you, if you do with a minor referee right now, don't expect to be seeing much of the season. Don't expect to be seeing your kid play, because we're going to come down hard, and it's got to be done. And I hate it, because I know good and well I would not, for any reason, want to be the one that I couldn't go see my kids play. I know all the things I did to go watch my son play when he played all over South, and working out work and trying to get off work so I could drive 2-3 hours to go watch him play a game and turn around, drive back. I know we all want to see our kids play, and we just have to do something. We've got to be part of it, guys and gals.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Anybody else with a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the very beginning, you said coaches are responsible for the parents. And so I know that means that, if the referee has an issue with a parent, he goes and talks to the coach, and the coach takes care of it, or the parent's gone, parent's banned. But if a parent does something to a referee, does anything happen to the coach at all?
Right now, we are not. Right now, we have not put that in. It's something that we have looked at, and this is the way we look at it. And I'm a little bit behind it right now. I think if a parent knew, if a coach knew that they may have to sit out a game or two because a parent got thrown out, I honestly believe that every coach would go to the parents and tell them, and because I don't think we're always having a meeting about how they should act on the sideline. Some clubs do a great job of it. I've seen papers that they give every single kid that comes and tries out. They have to sign it. They have to give it back. That's great. All we can do is give it to them and hope they read it. We can't sit there and hold them, say, okay, read it out loud to me. We got to hope once they sign it that they're saying they read it. But there are other clubs that aren't. And so what I feel like is that if a coach knew that and went over there to the parents and said, listen, if one of you guys get thrown out, I've got to sit out and I'm gonna miss your kid's game, coaching your kid. And I think that put over everybody. I think some of the parents would actually work together to try to keep a parent calm down. Remember, Bob, if you get thrown out of here, our coach won't be able to coach our kids next game. And I don't know if that will work or not. We're not at that point yet, but I'm hoping that this season things change with parents and adults and some coach. We haven't had a whole lot of coaches this season. It's mostly been sideline parents. I think we had maybe one or two coach that, and they weren't major things, but most of them parents that we've had the major issues, the 8-game sit outs, the 6-month sit outs, the year sit outs, stuff like that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's they are responsible.
Yeah. Then again, if a coach does their due diligence to try to maintain that sideline, and you just have a rogue parent that's beside themselves, I don't think, I can't speak for Larry, but I don't think if we have evidence that's corroborating that we would punish a coach. But if a coach, again, I'm not going to speak for you, but if a coach doesn't show that he's trying to control his sideline, I think that's where.
Well, put this scenario in there. The referee comes over and tells the coach that Joe over there or whatever has to leave the ball game. He goes over there, tells Joe he's got to leave. Joe says, I'm not leaving. He tells him he has to leave. I'm not leaving. Referee goes, tells the coach, if he doesn't leave, I can't get him to leave. He won't leave. Well, this, go tell your parents that this is going to be a forfeit. I'm going to give another minute and I'm getting ready to blow the whistle. This game is over. It's a forfeit. I'm not going to fault that coach. I know the team's going to take the forfeit for that parent, but I'm not going to take this one. If he's tried to get over there and get him and the guy won't leave, I don't expect the coach to go over there and physically pick him up and remove him from the field. I don't want him to get into anything either. Because if parents that hot, you don't know who they're going to go after. So no, I wouldn't do it in that case. My thing is that if the coach looks at the ref and says, parents aren't my responsibility, I ain't doing nothing. Well, then we got a problem.
Or even if he hesitates and the ref has to ask him on several occasions,
Well, that's why we want to stop the game. That's why when we go over there, he's got to be moved. I'm stopping the game for 5 minutes.
Right.
You have 5 minutes to get him out of here, and then we'll pick the game back up. If you do it quicker than that, we'll kick the game up real quick. But you've got 5 minutes. And if he can't get him to leave the field, he jogs over, tells the guy he's going to leave, or it's a forfeit. If he doesn't leave and he's making the attempt, thank you, coach. We appreciate it. This is a parent issue. But if he doesn't go over at all, 5 minutes are up. Sorry, coach. You can go tell your parents that the reason why you forfeit is you wouldn't go over and tell that parent to leave the field. So that's where we're going with this. But a coach that's making the effort, I think a referee will know right away, because probably the coach will say, I know, I give anything in the world if he'd shut up. Honestly.
And if both NCYSA and the local club are kind of on the same page, and that coach tries to get the parent to leave, the parent doesn't leave, it ends up being a forfeit. Okay, we're going to sanction that parent, but at the same time, then the team's going to have the forfeit or actually abandon the match, but then it will be adjudicated as a
Yes.
forfeit.
Thank you for doing it right way.
No, that's all right. But we're going to hope that local club also tacks on something to that parent, and that's going to show the entire club, but including that team, that type of behavior is just not warranted. I mean, it's not appropriate. And that's going to, hopefully in the future, that will create a lot of peer pressure for the next parent that gets out of line.
So these yellow armbands for minor referees, they're all going to have those starting this year?
Yes, sir. It'll start this spring. Now we obviously can't guarantee that they'll be wearing them, but right. we hope they are. And right now it looks like we've got a lot of support with the local assigners also.
Yeah, all the assigners are behind it because the head of the referees association is behind it.
Right. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we sent each one 3, because we assume that, like any other silicone wristband that, that people wear, it's going to wear out eventually, or they'll lose one, or but we've sent each one 3, so they should be good for a few seasons, I'm hoping.
Anybody else?
All right, so guys,
Listen,
I do have a quick question.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. So what I know that we've had some incidences where parents have a responsibility in the actions also on the sidelines, as far as not necessarily tattling on their own parents, but where, a team's parents have been put on probation based on other parents' actions. Can you speak on that as far as where that line is drawn and what responsibility, if a coach is not aware and the referee is not aware, but something breaks out on the sideline between two teams, the responsibility that those parents have that were not responsible to bring this up before it gets to.
I would hope that the AR would notice something at that point, because we did have a WWE wrestling match this year between some women. I would hope that was after the game.
That's the one I'm speaking of.
Well, in that situation, the game was almost over and it was away from where everybody, and involved a hurt player, which just blows my mind. We want to get into it, but hopefully somebody would mention something to the AR, who then would flag the center official to stop the game and explain to them they've got parents over here that are starting to, and that might be something I need to bring up to the referees to make sure that if they hear something go on the sidelines, they don't need to address it, but they can go to center or referee, and then the center referee call both coaches over and say, sounds like you've got some parents over there getting ready to go at it with each other. And then it's up to the coaches to go over there and make sure that both parents are on their own side. They don't say anything. I am a firm believer, and I know Mark and I have discussed this to no end. I'm a firm believer that I think it's eventually going to be, your team's going to be on one side and the other team's going to be on the other side, and parents. I think you're going to have your team and parents on one side, and just kind of like a football game, the home side, the visiting side, and your team's on that side and the parents are on that side. I think that's where it's going to eventually head. I know coaches aren't crazy about that. I know there's some other situations that different people have brought up. I don't fully understand them all, but you may have some that would say that doesn't sound like a good idea. But I think it may come to where we've got to separate the parents too, because we are having a few instances that one says something, and whether they said it to that other team's child or not, they think they did, and then it gets a little out of hand. You can't talk to my child. I wasn't talking to your child. Yes, you were. And I've seen that before too. But hopefully the AR or a parent would go to the AR, or one who's not involved. Hey, listen, we're having problems. And then that AR would stop wave its flag, get the center ref's attention, and get both coaches over there. And there again, it resolves down to the coach at that point, knowing and getting over there and doing something about it.
Absolutely. And I think that may be something good to address with the refs to make sure that AR is aware and can make that call to the center ref, especially for the younger ones, because I know my daughter's 15 and I just showed her the wristband and she got all excited because she's reffing for the first time this past fall. And, but I know there was numerous times where she would not even want to ref on the parent side just due to situations like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, the refs need to know that they are empowered to make that call to the center ref.
Yeah. And all it would be is just going over and telling the coach that, hey, both parents, we've got the AR over there, set of parents come over and say both teams' parents are kind of getting iffy with each other, and you might want to go over there and separate them and tell them this game could get called if they don't calm down. And I always felt like whenever I coached that sometimes especially when the kids were younger, I wanted a minor official because I wouldn't say anything to them. Now, I'm not saying I didn't say something to some of the adult officials, okay, but I just felt like it was a minor. I just couldn't say anything. I'm not saying anything, but sometimes I took a little too much freedom, I'm sure somebody would say, with some of the adult officials, but I never went after one of them, that's for sure. But I didn't think they made some right calls in my time. So we all do it. And but it's getting to the point where now people are just going further and further with it. And we just got to make sure we're not having, like I said, I don't want to be on YouTube. because you know somebody's going to video it because everybody's got a phone. As soon as something happens, I mean, the fight was videoed. We got video of the fight.
Yes, we did. Unfortunately, we did.
Somebody's going to somebody's going to take a picture of anything happens. Someone pull that phone out and they're going to video anything. So anybody else got any questions?